Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today it's time to do the annual knife collection update. I have over 300 knives, so we're going to be moving very quickly. Starting off with probably the least expensive box and then moving up to the most expensive box. I will also be going over the fixed blades and the swords and all of the other stuff. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. All right, let's start off with the knife that's actually in my pocket today, and that is the Metal Complex and Kunwu Excalibur. This is the knife that I designed. You guys are probably familiar with this by now. I've got links for it down in the description. Let's go ahead and start the case off with the CJRB Prado. Moving on here, we have, this is the NAFS edition, the NAFS and WIA edition of the Lander 3 in S35VN. We have the new Civivi Neurohaptic, which I couldn't help but keep. Very cool one there. We have, this is a liner lock version of the Miguron Moyarl. It's a fun budget knife here. There's going to be some expensive stuff sprinkled in because I don't have these things perfectly organized. Apparently a Wharncliffe version of the Civivi Elementum. I honestly don't remember everything that's in here. This knife is the Civivi Placoid, I'm not really sure exactly how to pronounce that one. This is the Civivi Hid, giant looking folding kitchen knife there. This is the Real Steel Pathfinder with the Scandi grind, pretty cool. Next up, what do we have right here? Oh yeah, this is the Civivi Vision FG, and this actually has original goat titanium scales added to it. Next up here, some of these are a little bit tricky to get out of this case. This is the Civivi Chevalier. Next up, we have the Sencut Crowley button lock. And then right here, I think this one is here because I was just recently carrying it, and that's the Demco Shark Cub. Definitely one of my favorite EDC knives. Next up, whoops, that one got a little bit stuck there. We have the standard Kershaw Iridium. We have, oh, there's an expensive one. We have the Microtech MSI, also with titanium original goat scales. I think this is probably a standard Pyrite. Oh, that one's been really gunked up. Yeah, CJRB Pyrite. Next up, here's a random expensive one. This is the Winter Blade Co. Veyron, almost knife of the year on this channel. Definitely a fun one. We have another Miguron Moyarl with the crossbar lock. I actually have multiple. That's also one of my favorite budget knives. This is the Kershaw Heist. Next up, we have the CJRB Echo in carbon fiber, also a great budget knife. Next up, we have the Nano Shark from Demco. Just got this one. Actually, I'm not sure if you guys have even seen me unbox that one yet. Here we have, I think this is actually a premium Pyrite in, is it AR RPM 9? Yeah, it's titanium and AR RPM 9. Next up, we have the full-size Miguron Velona. Almost said Moyarl. I'm going to try to get all these right. I'll go back and edit it if not. This is the We Knives Acuminal in Vanax. At least that's how I pronounce it. This is the Sencut Citus. I guess I had to look that one up. Next up, this is the Civivi Conspirator. Moving on, we have another Civivi Elementum in Ultim. Sometimes I don't know why I keep these. I'm sure you guys are asking, why do you have some of these? I don't know. Sometimes I just keep them. This is the Civivi Iridium with the cool Sanmai blade. Next up, this is the Miguron Galatai, or Galatea, however you want to say that. Oh, this is a fun one. So this is a literal gas station knife that was given to me by Scott. I think, what does it say right here? It says, go first class, go Phillips 66. Scott gave me this as a joke because so many people refer to the stuff I collect as gas station knives. I thought that was funny. We have, actually, this is Excalibur Prototype V2, the knife that I designed. The one that I have in my pocket is the completed version, but this was Excalibur Prototype version 2, which has the contouring, and it still has the old front flipper. We have, here's another expensive one. We have the Demco 8020i or 8020 International, which is exactly the same as the American one. Just has a blade that is heat treated and ground in Italy. This is the Chavez Redemption 229 Kickstop in Tanto. That's fun. Oh, the Wee Solid. I didn't realize these were back here. These are actually very expensive knives as well. The Wee Solid with kind of the gray wash or whatever they call that finish. And then I also have a Wee Solid in like the standard, do they call it Silver Bee Blast or something like that? Love both of those knives. We have the newest Max Ace Neptune, which is actually the same as the original Max Ace Neptune. They just sent me another one because I had given the first one away. We have the Off-Grid Knives Scorpion V3 in Magna Cut. I didn't realize how many of these nicer knives were actually in this case. We have, I think this is the Max Ace Sandstorm V2 Integral. That one used to be in the Overbuilt case, and I kind of just jammed it in here. What is this? This is the Kunwu Gringo. It's very, very new. What do we have way down in here? I think, yeah, that is the Serge Panchenko Production Bean. That's always a fun one. Looks like a Who from Whoville. Next up, what do we have here? Oh yeah, this is the Kershaw Bel Air. This one in particular is carbon fiber and Magna Cut. Very cool. Another. Why do I have so many Elementums? It's hard to remember. This was like a Christmas themed Civivi Elementum. I think from last year. I'm not sure. And then is this my my Spyderco? Yeah. That's what I call my dinner knife. One of the knives that my wife got for me for one of our anniversaries. This is the Titanium Delica in VG10 San Mai Damascus. I've also upgraded the clip to the MXG Deep Carry clip. That's a fun one. There we go. Excalibur V1. Why don't you have these knives side by side? I don't know, because I'm constantly taking stuff in and out. I'd constantly be organizing. But yeah, Excalibur V1 prototype. This was over a year ago. This was the very first Excalibur prototype that we started with there. So yeah, fun. What do we have here? This is the North Arm Knives Skaha V2. Sometimes these knives are dirty, and it's not necessarily indicative of which knives I use more than others. It's just indicative of which knives have been most recently cleaned. But the truth is that the vast majority of these don't get used. This was also a gift from my wife. This is the Microtech SOCOM Elite. That one was from 2018. This is the Microtech MSI Stitch with the gunstock aluminum scales from Original Goat. Really, really like that one. It's one of my favorite EDC OTFs is the Guardian Tactical Recon 35. Still an absolutely excellent choice and an easy switch to operate, but I feel like the newer Microtechs are honestly a little bit easier just with the texturing. Anyways, this is still kind of a mystery switchblade. It says Enox on it. It's a Leverletto. I'm not sure of the exact brand of this knife, but I've had it forever, and I cannot remember exactly where I got it. Next up, I think this is a Sheepdog in brass. Yeah, it's a Kaiser Sheepdog in brass and 3V. Where does it say? Yeah, right there. CPM 3V. That's a fun one. We have, and I'm not sure if this knife ever actually released. This is the Midgard's Messer Mini Valhalla or Micro Valhalla, which is funny because it's not really mini at all. But it's got these two tabs that I don't think are very strong at all. But it is neat how this thing sort of folds up and manages to have such a large blade and such a small, you know, well, smallish profile. Next up, we have a super exotic version of the Jans EMW. Both blades are Damasteel, and then we have Zircotine. These are made by Riot. So it's like a double frame lock. Pretty cool, pretty unique. I think I picked that up at Crane's Cutlery. Is this the Wii Cinewave or Sine Wave? I remember being not 100% sure I wanted to keep this, and I'm really glad that I did. That's a fun one. What do we have here? I believe this is the Vero Nova. You can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of Vero knives that look similar. I think that that's the Vero Nova. Next up, one of my personal favorites from this year for 2024 from Wii is the Wii and Jason Guthrie I hope I remembered the correct name of the designer, but yeah, that is an awesome one. Really glad I kept that one. Very, very fun. Next up, I'm pretty sure that this is another Chavez. Yeah, my the first Riot made Chavez 229 Redemption. I used to have, this is just a frame lock with the thumb studs. I used to have the American Mid-Tech. This is the full-size Kunwu Django, the Django XL. Also fun. I believe that what we have here is a Winter Bladeco. Yes, this is a Winter Bladeco Factor. I think that's the version 2 or the second gen or however he says that. Do we have yet another Kunwu? Yeah, that's the M-Fire. This was from this year. Very cool, very different. This guy here is the Eichowitz and Les George EK Folder Dagger. Definitely a unique looking knife and also an integral. I really, really like that one. We have something tucked away. Is it perhaps? Yes. This is my very first pocket knife that was restored for me by some awesome people in the community. We had to replace, or they had to replace that scale there, but the front scale is the original, right? This was originally my grandpa's pocket knife, and I can tell you exactly what it was here. It says Camillus, New York, and this was a number, does it say 70? So there you go. I'm unfamiliar with Camillus, but I grew up with this pocket knife. It was my grandpa's, then it was my dad's, and then it was mine. So that's cool that it's still here for sure. We have another, this is the Wii Elementum. We actually put my logo on there, so that's really nice of them. Actually, that was a couple of years ago. This is the, it's like a shorty or like a Blade Chops version of the Spyderco Capara. I don't own a full-size Capara. I should, but this was gifted to me by Blade Chops, and I honestly don't know if Blade Chops is still around. A super expensive knife, one that I use all the time. I have no idea what I was cutting with this. Gross. This is the Hawk Shortcut. Really cool. I actually really like using that one. This is the knife that Advanced Knife Bro, God, terrible. Don't tell him that I started around his name. This is the knife that Advanced Knife Bro designed, and I feel like it's called the Stump. I'm actually going to double check on that. It's the Stump Lifter. Legitimately, probably my favorite slip joint knife ever. This is absolutely perfect. It's got, I believe, a 154 cm hollow ground initial blade, and then we have the bottle opener, can opener, flathead. It's just awesome. He nailed it. I mean, he knows what he's looking for. It's just really, really good. This is a TFG. I think it's legitimately called a TFG razor, or Tools for Gents razor, designed by Mikkel Willemsen. I kept this because it's weird. That's the whole reason. Next up, I do own a Benchmade Narrows, believe it or not. The whole reason is for reference. I gave away the other 3 that Benchmade sent, but I did keep this one as a reference point. Truthfully, I don't like this knife, but I know that in future content I will need to reference it, and it's easier to have one physically than to have to go back and, you know, like screen record content. What on earth is this? Oh yeah, this is the Cold Steel Engage with the Atlas lock. I did end up keeping that one. That one's fun. One of my Reich Cicadas. I love this knife. It is so awkward. People always ask me, so like, is it a button lock? You have to push down to disengage the lock to flip it, and then this edge is false, which is why I'm using it to close it, so it really only has one edge. I kept it because it's just super cool, right? Teeny tiny little integral. Really fun. This is a super crazy version of the Katsu. I think it's the KSZ1. I think it's the one with zirconium and zircotai. And then it has actually a Sanmai ZDP 189 blade that's been DLC coated. So that's definitely a super cool one there. Next up, a monstrous Wii button lock. This is the Wii Zizit, which I really like just because the action feels impossibly good for such a large button lock knife. Very, very cool. Next up, I have a knife that I really don't like. This is the AKC Roma. A lot of people tell me, oh, see, like, it's not even wanting to go. Oh, I hate this. This is apparently a Chinese-made one, and people always tell me all the time that it's, like, not an actual AK. truthfully, I keep it because short form content, people go nuts for this thing because it's a giant swing guard. But man, these are such trash. So yeah, I guess for reference, I keep that one. Use it as an example of like something that looks really cool and is actually not. Oh, this actually should not be in here. This is the Herman Sting, and they actually have like a topographical ano. They've milled this, so it's got depth to it, and then they have anodized the two different layers there. We have the Gathering. God, that thing is powerful. The Gathering 12 edition of the ProTech and Prometheus Design Works Invictus. We have, this is the GP Knives exclusive, very recent Rex 76 brick pattern Spyderco PM2. Definitely a cool one. What do we have here? Oh, this is the Buckhorn by, it's the Ken Onion Buckhorn collaboration, and I forget the exact name of the company that he started, Chinese OEM. We have the Reich Thule Integral, a rare non-titanium integral, one of only two that I own in some other material outside of titanium. I really like that one. Next up, having to dig for that one a little bit. Yeah, this is the Mariner 2, which is a Terzwola design from a long time ago. Very much enjoyed that one for general EDC. We have the black version. I missed that twice, amateur. We have the Knoll Knives Voodoo. Really, really awesome. My favorite Knoll Knives design. That one's all black. Next up, we have the Berg Blades Sweeney. Glad I kept that one too. Moving on, we have the Berg Blades Tick in S90V. Definitely an underrated knife for 2024. We have the, little hard to front flip that one, but very cool, the WE Knife Cybernetic is the name of this one. That was the first knife that, from WE that was a standout change from their previous stuff. Next up, we have the, is this the Cybertrix, the Reich Cybertrix? Yeah, the Cybertruck looking knife. And then we're moving on here to the last two, which are probably kind of oddly placed. Is that my Factor B3? Yeah, with the Damascus blade. And then finally, this one is eventually going to move to the primary, like the expensive case. It's just here for a moment. But this is the new Microtech Scarab Gen 2 version 3. So it's the one with the new easy switch. Okay. On to the next case. All right, this one's only a 40 slot, so it should go a little faster. We have the Kershaw Livewire in Ultim. Very fun. This is the TW Price Designs Rain. Very cool. Good looking knife. This is the Maxace Neptune PEI edition. A little different than the standard Neptune, obviously. So this is an interesting one. This is the Dan Caraher Integral 904, which he did put my logos on, which is really cool. I think you can actually still buy this knife. So next up, we actually have a very cool custom knife, and it should not be in this case. It should be in my main case. But I pulled up the information so that you guys could see exactly what this classic swing guard is. This is a custom Romain Alvarez Cotelier Yacingo Cotes Micarta Vintage. I am so sorry. I'm showing this to you not because I don't know what it is, but because I cannot pronounce this. But it is available on Tools for Gents. I think they actually have a few. This thing is really, really cool. You lift up here, it comes back down. Oh, how beautiful is that? I love this knife. It's so cool. Need to get that one switched up to the other case. We have, I think this was the website exclusive version of the Kaiser Milita in the DLC M390 and Timascus. Sorry, camera's not wanting to focus there. Very cool. This is the Recon 1 Reconnaissance Adzin. I think that's their own exclusive knife. This is my very first Spyderco Shaman, which has the, these are actually the River's Edge Cutlery exclusive Shaman scales because I swapped those out on another one. This one here, this is the Olone Goat. I think these are the newest ones. I have a couple of these, titanium and gold carbon fiber. Olone, actually. I always say Olone, it's Olone. We have the Sheepdog, the Kaiser Sheepdog in titanium. Very cool. Winter Blade Co. Severn. This is actually a knife that I periodically take out of here and carry. Next up, we have the Exceed Designs Aver. Definitely a nice one there. Next up, this is a special one here, actually. This is the Artisan Cutlery Boa, which is full Damascus and fully mirror polished. Absolutely had to keep that one. That one's really cool. We have the Paragon Para X single action OTF. Fun one. We have the Reich Alien 4, I think. This is such a wild knife. Really fun. Another version of the Chavez Redemption. Is this the one that's... No, it's just black with the micarta, and it's Tanto and also a kickstop flipper. We have a very old Cold Steel Code 4. This one's in CTS XHP. Everything on this knife is correct except for the pocket clip. I don't know what happened to the original pocket clip, but I, for some reason, had an extra black one, so I put that on there. Next up, we have the Remet RT Swordfish Gravity Knife. I actually think I have 2 of them there. This is a Boost Blades Aero Flipper. Not Aero, I think it's AERO, if I remember correctly. This is the We Knives Exciton Button Lock. That's how I pronounce it anyway. Very rare, ZT0392. Originally, this was a BWBRZ, so it had the bronze hardware, but I bought this secondary market, and that hardware was exceptionally faded, so I used some authentic Hinder Eclipse hardware and just replaced everything, and it works perfectly. Next up, we have the mini Chad, or the compact Chad. That's what this is, from Kunwu. Definitely cool. We have the Migron M Valona. This is the one that was in M390, but they had such a poor heat treat on it. Kept it for reference. This was my first gift from my wife, and I carried this a ton, so much that the ano is wearing off of the clip. But this is the Lion Steel TRE. My wife gifted me this for our very first anniversary, so it would have been almost 8 years ago. Next up, we have a huge knife. This is the PMP Grizzly. This one came in D2. I'm actually shocked that this fits in this case. We have another Knoll Knives Voodoo. This was my first one. I can't decide which one I like more, this or the black. Probably this one. We have a Blade HQ exclusive Spyderco Smock in CPM M4 and the Jade, or Flu Booger G10. This is the We Knives Swift Fin. It's just huge, and it's just bizarre with all the holes and everything. I couldn't help but keep that one. Moving on here, we have the Knoll Knives. I believe this is, sorry, the camera is just really not wanting to focus here. I believe this is the Raiden. Next up, we have the new ZT Automatic, and it says right here the 0556 in Magna. Truthfully, I kept this because it's not legal for me to give away automatic knives, but it's an okay knife. The knife that still has not gone back to my wife for multiple collection updates. This is the Kershaw Blur. This was the knife that I gifted to her, and she reminds me every few months that she does not have that knife in her purse, and it's still down here. I need to give that back. This is a weird one, but I'll never forget the name. It's the CMB Made Knives Kawananagare, which has an essentially useless Cree-style blade. I mean, for modern EDC, but it is cool. And it kind of looks like a robot turd, Fun. The famous Rockstead Higo 2 that I broke the tip off of. Yeah, every now and then I get this back out and carry it, but it no longer has a tip because I snapped it off doing some stupid things with it. This is another Shaman. This is the Spyderco CPM Spy 27 and Cobalt Shaman. That's definitely a fun one there. Next up, we have the Grambo Knives Russ, or the Mini Russ, or the Compact Russ. I can't remember exactly what he calls that. Next up, we have the Wee Ziphius. Definitely one of their best button lock knives. We have the Alliance Designs EZE V2 Integral. This one has the zirconium inlays. We have one of my Kunwu Padres. This is the large size in Vanax, the frame lock version. This is a weird one. This is the Midgard's Messer, the Sleipner, which actually has a belt buckle attachment. I don't have that, but yeah, super weird knife that you can put your finger in the hole there. And then finally, to end this case, we have another PMP. This is the M390 Kodiak, which I think you can actually still get on Blade HQ. All right, on to the next case. Okay, moving on to the second of the 340 slot cases. We have the Wii and SNES Vision R, the premium version. We have another Olone Goat. I think this was the V1. So I guess I have 3 of those. What the heck is this? This is the Artisan Cutlery Proponent in titanium and S35VN. A nice, really nice sand wash or sand polish or whatever they call that. This is the Reich Lamella, and I think this is the version 2 with, no, this is the version 1. This is the knife that I cannot feel the tip of my thumb anymore. I cut it really bad with this knife trying to disassemble it, and I don't have feeling in the end of my thumb anymore. This is the TRM Atom, right? Is the Atom or is it the Neutron? It's a bigger one. I'm so sorry. You can correct me in the comments. This is my User Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon. I actually have a few of these, but man, I love this knife. Still one of my favorite designs ever. Next up, we have the Christensen Knife Works Maverick with the Zircotai accents there. That's definitely a fun one. And of course, we have the Skelton Blade Works Kaladin. I really like this knife. Really cool design, and especially the fact that he's using the silver twill or Alatex or whatever you want to call that. This is the Artisan Cutlery Satyr that I keep because it's a perfect example of what they're capable of with their sand wash. They rarely get it that shiny, but yeah. This is the Kershaw Iridium in titanium and 20 CV. That's kind of become a rare bird there. So this, you've already seen my Excalibur, but this was the slot, the open slot that I had pulled it out of where I was keeping it. So it's actually in my pocket today. I just put it back in there. We have the Benchmade. This is one of the only Benchmade knives that I own, and I still to this day consider it one of the best Benchmade knives ever, and that's the Mini Crooked River. This was customized for me by a friend, and I'll keep it forever. Oh, we got a budget knife in here. So I think this is the Civivi and GTC Hypersonic. Weird one. It's not, I don't even think it's a budget knife. I think it's just really, really close. Next up, we have, this is an American knife. I think it says right here. Let's see. The Chapman Lake Knives CL1, or it's the CLT1. I think I might actually be getting that wrong, but Chapman Lake Knives, once you see this, you'll never ever forget it. Next up, we have the Reich Shadow. Pretty cool. It's one of those that kind of sheath disassembles. Now, this is a Winter Blade Crow knife. I really should have all of these together, but I get them out so often. The assisted, this is the one that is assisted and not quite as good as the M-Fire, but this is the Mirage, which I actually EDC'd for quite a bit. Next up, oh yeah, so this is, gotta get that correct. This is the knife that's made out of Terravantium, the Terrain 365 and Prometheus Design Works Invictus with the Dendritic Cobalt, or what they call it, Terravantium blade. Very cool. Next up, we have the large Varga knives or Varga blades VBR. It's a fun one. There it is. That's the Reich Lamella V2, which has the switch back here, and I like that. That's definitely a lot safer. What do I have here? The Tactile Knife Co. Is this the Maverick? I think that's what that is the Maverick. Moving up a row, we have my, this is my only ProTech Malibu. It's kind of like the Shadow or the Stealth Edition with the all-black look there. The Serge Panchenko Production, I think they just call this the Production Razor. It's literally just a slip joint utility knife. Pretty cool. Is this, I have a random budget knife in here. This is the NAFS Lander, just the standard NAFS Lander. TRM Shadow in titanium. I think that's kind of a rare one. I don't think that these are extremely easy to come across. The thumb studs are a little sharp on that one. I'm just now realizing. Wish that was a little bit better. I believe this is the Artisan Cutlery Mage or Sorcerer, or it's one of those. It's one of the ones that had the Kickstarter. It's also mirror polished and full Timascus. Really, really cool. It's one of those names. There was just like a series of knives, and like each tier was like a more powerful. It was like a warlock and all this other stuff. I can't remember. Something like that. Next up, we have the Berg Blades Iron Wolf, which I really wish that they would bring back. That's an awesome one. Nice big XM24 size knife. Next up is the Tactile Knife Co. Rockwall, which I've had for a long time. I haven't gotten this knife out for a really long time. We have the ProTech Godfather with the sapphire blue, I think that's a PVD coating. Next up, we have the Pyrotech Kraken. I always say Kraken just to make people mad, but the Kraken. This one I actually EDC fairly often. We have the American Blade Works Model 2, I think. Don't kill me. It is American Blade Works. I was not super impressed with the detent, and he actually offered to tune it for me, and I said, great, and then I forgot to send it in to him, so I still need to do that. It's actually a really cool knife. We have another Ohlone Goat V2 in the bronze and septic tank inlay. We have another Pyrotech Kraken. This one in all mirror polished. This is zirconium and mirror polished DLC S90V. Wish that had a pocket clip. I'd carry and use this all the time, but it doesn't. I don't know why they did that. We have the Kaiser Momo. Definitely one of the best Kaiser knives ever. What the heck is this? Oh, yeah. The Grambo Russ full size. This was my first one. Really cool. Next up is the Hogue and CRKT Ken Onion Redemption. Weird one, but cool. We have a ProTech TR3. This was also a gift from my wife. Next up, what do we have right here? Oh, yeah, the Arcade from Flytanium. I think you can actually, I think these are on sale right now. We have the Knifejoy exclusive version of the Spyderco Sleesh Bowie, which I have kept. Definitely a cool one. I wish they would bring back the original version of that. This is the Max Ace Black Mirror, one of the least expensive premium S90V knives I have ever seen. This is awesome. Weird colors, but very, very cool. And finally, we have the CMB made knives Kamasu, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. These all glow. They like glow blue in the dark. It's pretty cool. I really wanted to keep that one, so I did. Okay, on to the next case. All right, this is the third and final 40 slot case, but we still have a lot to go here. This is the Miguron Moyarl Titanium frame lock. Next up, we have the Kunwu Padre with the crossbar lock. I think these are in L-Max. Yeah, it's the X Padre, I guess. Next up is the TW Price Designs Dawn folding knife. And this one here is the, oh, it's another Knoll Knives Raiden. This one is just in black there. And then this one, which is probably going to be a little bit of a fight to get out of there because it's so fat. This is the Mini Beowulf, which is the smallest chunky knife that I own. And that's actually the pin right there. I just kind of jammed it into the foam. This one here is the, oh, it's the Arcona Buran Ivan B design. Very cool. Look at that frame lock right there, cut completely into the frame. That's fun. This is the Reich 1902. This is the, I think this is one of the original ones. I've got one of the newer ones as well. This one also going to be a little bit of a fight. This one is the Mini Viking, or the small Viking from Midgard's Messer, which was also this one here, some of these fatter ones. This here is the Riot XO M in titanium, and I think the blade steel on this guy is L-Max. Is this an early serial number? I don't know. It's from 2023. What's this? Oh yeah, the Kaiser Brat, one of my favorite, less expensive Kaiser knives because it's an integral. It's so cool. Okay, this one here is the Sharp by Design Derico or Dericho. I don't know how to say that word. It has to do with weather, I guess. Another Midgard's Messer knife that just barely fits in here. This is the Midgard's Messer Utgard. I think that's the Utgard. Pretty cool. Thor's hammer. Wildly impractical, but it's fun. We're actually going to stick that right there, and I'm just going to lay that pin there for the moment. Next up is the Urban EDC F5.5 with the Sagaya pattern. This is a custom from Bastion Knives. He did my dagger. That was the one that got lost. Nobody's fault. Wasn't his, but he felt bad and gave me it was just a custom folding knife. I don't think he really has a name for it. But it was cool. Very nice of him. We have the Spartan Harzy. This is the large one in the DLC. This was a gift from a viewer. Very cool. We have the Spyderco Bodacious, which makes for a great carry knife. Admittedly, I have not really carried it all that often because it's just kind of boring. This was Knife of the Year on my channel. This was the Winter Blade Co. Factor 8 with the quad magnet detent system. Very, very cool. Nothing else like it. We have the Maxace Hephaestus, which is one of my favorite overbuilt knives. This thing is just absolutely titanic and ridiculous. Next up, we have the Quechua Telson, which I kept not necessarily because I love the profile, but because of these massive slabs of zirconium that are in here. We just don't really see that as much in the production knife world. Next up is the Oxworks Lontra EDX, I believe. That's what that is. Nice little EDC knife. I think Riot was the OEM for that one. We have my favorite Kershaw Auto, and that's the Launch 16, unless I'm mistaken. M4 in the raw aluminum. I really, really like that one. Moving on here, this is the Raikou, I think, don't kill me, the Knoll Knives Raikou, I believe. Next up, we have a much nicer classic swing guard. This is an AGA Campolin 9-inch with the pearl on there. These are a much higher quality, but also pretty difficult to find. Arizona Custom Knives would be your best bet there. We have another frame lock Padre, this one in DLC. And oh boy, look at the fingerprints all over that one. We'll just wipe that off real quick. But this one in the DLC and Van Axe, very cool. Next up, we have a Cold Steel AD15. This one sporting original goat titanium scales, making it definitely one of the most durable. Oh, well, it's already, without the titanium scales, it's already very, very durable. One of the most durable knives that I own. Next up, we have the Maxace Peregrine. This is the original in ZDP 189 and carbon fiber. We have the first Miguron Arma. I helped name this knife. Crazy overbuilt thing. If these are still available and you like overbuilt knives, this is one of the least expensive titanium and M390 overbuilt knives on the market. We have the Kunwu S-Tau 2. This is the newest S-Tau with the DLC and all the crazy stuff. Very, very nice knife. We have, I think that was the Kunwu S-Tau original, like the standard one. So you can see how far, I think it has, yeah, right there. You can see how far they came, actually. This is the Riot XOK, which I'm going to be very careful with because I will almost certainly cut myself with it if I use it the way that it's supposed to. But it does this cool, like, crazy whippy thing. Do I dare? Yacha, yacha. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do it for you guys. Yeah, and then yeah. I'm doing it slow. I'm sorry. I just don't want to cut myself in the middle. You'll have to excuse me. I don't want to cut myself with that one. I almost never get that knife out. It scares me. This is my favorite current ZT, and it's the ZT0308 CF in M390 and carbon fiber. Very cool. It's the only thing we have nowadays that is like the ZT that we all love and remember fondly. It was a hard, that's hard to get through. We have the Kaiser Milita with septic tank inlay. DLC, S45VN, shiny DLC. They do a good job with that. Next up, we have the Sharp by Design Mini Chicane, or Chicane, with the silver twill. Again, I wish that they would do more of that. This one here is the Sniper Bladeworks DMF. Definitely a big old chunky boy. I think the brass has started to patina, which is just unavoidable. And my fingers are the type that will push a patina further on materials like brass. This is the Reich S05 with, it's almost like a quilt Damascus. Each one of these little sections is actually its own pattern. And then what they do is they take all of those patterns and then they make another Damascus out of it. It's actually really cool, and I don't see this a lot. Not everybody likes it because it's kind of chaotic, but I think it's really cool. This is a wild knife. I don't think a lot of people know about that one. This is the Artisan Cutlery and Beg War Junkie Citadel, which is also kind of a forgotten knife. Very cool. Just jam that one back into the pocket clips, tearing up the foam there. Oh yeah, this one also shouldn't be in this case, but it's the Beg Steelcraft Bodega, but it's the least expensive version in D2. One of the most absolutely exceptional D2 and G10 steel frame lock knives out there. It's just wild. Pretty expensive though. This is the second version of the Migron Arma with the darker and contoured titanium. Very cool. I think we have yet another Milita. Yeah, we have the purple carbon fiber or fat carbon or camo carbon, whatever you want to call it, Milita and DLC and S45EN. And then finally, one of my favorite knives of 2024 is the Wee and Dalibor Bergam Ator Integral. Definitely an awesome knife. You should definitely check that one out. Okay, on to the next case. All right, time to do the Overbuilt case. We have the Maxace Sandstorm. This is the original, or it's actually the re-release of the original. Then we have the Riot T1000. This was the Crane's Cutlery exclusive edition with the 3V blade and the Zircotai accents. And we have the newer one, the Riot T1000 V2, and this is actually full polished DLC with a spit mark on it. Sorry about that. And then we also have the crystal tie, which is kind of hard to see unless we zoom up, but it's DLC crystal tie, so that was a fun one. This is, I think, the original, yeah, Beowulf. So this is the Midgard's Messer Beowulf, and I actually have serial number 1 in existence. That's a fun one. Moving on here, I think this is the Midgard's Messer Carbine Rifle Knife. This is the one that has that weird double locking system where it's got like the bolt action pin or like rod thing that you can lock it out right here. It doesn't really, and truthfully, it doesn't really do all that much. It's just kind of weird and unique, right? But it's double locked out or whatever you want to say. And then it also has that pin. All the locking pins are tucked over here in the foam. We have the, I think Dirk Warning sold this to me, the original Viking, like the not like serial number 1 or anything. I think, yeah, 129 to 200. But this is from the first run of Midgard's Messer Viking. This is the Viking V2. I think it's the Tools for Gents version with the blue, and then they have like they actually have the over travel and double locking system on there, or frame lock, double lock, whatever you want to call that. This is the Midgard's Messer Thunrar, which is just crazy looking, super thick as everything is in this case. We have an ultra thick, definitely. This is the Migron Geddon at, I think, nearly a third or maybe over a third of an inch thick. A quarter inch in this case is pretty common, right? So all of these are going to be thicker than like your Medford Praetorian tie, or most of them. The Midgard's Messer Berserker, I think that's actually a little under. We have the Maxace Vortex and M390, a little over a quarter inch. That got me there just a little bit. Still sharp, even though it's thick. The Maxace Titanus. It's either the Titanus or the Titano. I think it's the Titanus. And then far and away the thickest knife I own, and I think the thickest production, non-custom folding knife in the world. It's a very special version of the PMP Alpha Beast. This is a Gen 1 in Damas steel. The official serial number of this guy is actually number 2 of 290, but it's one of only 5 in existence that were made by Riot out of Damas steel. I have no idea where the other ones are. There are V2s in Damas steel. The standard ones tend to be D2, right? But that's a very special overbuilt knife. So anyways, that's it for the overbuilt knives that fit in the case. Let's move on to the overbuilt knives that do not fit in a case. Okay, this is the PMP Titano. It doesn't fit in anything. It just sits in its own case because it doesn't fit in anything that I own. This is the Opinel 13, which is essentially just a meme knife on this channel. I have no use for it other than creating silly content. So that's fun. Same thing with pretty much all of these, right? This is the largest folding blade that I own. And this is the Midgard's Messer Fenris, which is essentially a two-handed folding short sword and extremely dangerous. This is the one that I'm most likely to injure myself with. The smaller, but still gigantic, Odin's toothpick that has a flipper and definitely should not. I actually have another one of these that's red, and I cannot find it. I don't know where it is. There's a chance I gave it away and forgot that I gave it away. And then this one here is the Midgard's Messer Boss. This was like the pre-production sample or prototype or whatever. And I still have it. It's super duper cool. Okay, let's move on to the next group of knives. Okay, so everything here is just kind of loose, and I keep these out on my desk as knives for reference or size comparison because they're very, very common. A lot of my viewers have them. We have the Migron M Valona. We have the, actually this is a newer one, I just expect people to pick it up probably. This is the CJRB Pyrite Light Large, or the Large Pyrite Light. We have the Riot Exo M in aluminum. That's the Blade HQ version. We have the new CJRB Acacia. I think that's a great one. We have the, this is the Migron Moyarl with the crossbar lock. We have a Pyrite Light. This one's in here because I expected it to be a common one, but it's actually not. This is like the micro, I forget what they call it. It should be the micro pyrite, but it's called something else. And I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I can't remember. It's basically the Pyrite Light, and they just named it incorrectly. We also have another, I own 4 Elementums. I didn't even know that. The button lock Elementum. We have the Civivi Baby Banter, which was my old travel knife, actually. This has seen a lot of time in the pocket for sure. This is the Migron Perism, which not necessarily a really popular knife, just incredibly cheap. It's always a good example. And then finally, a knife that I definitely expect to be incredibly popular. This is the Civivi Yonder. The scratches are from an aluminum can that I cut up. Now moving on to the primary size comparison knives, we have the CJRB Pyrite. That's just kind of like the standard version of it. We have the Ritter Hogue, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue with original goat titanium scales. We have the Rat 2, which I don't use as much anymore as a size comparison knife, but I keep it here because it's still a good knife for reference. We have the Pyrite Large, like the original large Pyrite from CJRB. We have a Demco AD 20.5 Shark Lock, and I think these are also original goat scales, or maybe not. Maybe it's some other company. I can't remember what company made those scales. We have a Benchmade Bug Out. This was custom shop from Benchmade, and then I actually added Flytanium scales to it. One of the best budget knives of all time is the Vosteed Raccoon with the top liner lock. I definitely keep that one in here. Did I say this was the Naf's Burrito? This thing is really handy. We have one of my most carried knives ever is the Spyderco Para 3 with the Maximate blade, and then I have the RGT skinny scales and MHD deep carry clip. We have the Spyderco PM2 with Flytanium scales. We have another Civivi Vision FG with the, I forget what this plastic is called. Cool though. We have the one of my Ontario Rats. This is one of the, I actually have like 3 of these things, that the full-size Ontario Rat 1. We have a Hogue Deca with original goat scales. Pretty cool. Another AD 20.5 with titanium scales, probably just so I can give an actual like factory reference to the knife. And then there's a Cold Steel 8010, which is my large size comparison knife, and it also has original goat titanium scales. All right, let's move on. All right, so this is what I refer to as the big boy case. This case houses my rarest and most spectacular and definitely my most expensive pocket knives. Now there's some other like less crazy stuff sprinkled in, but as far as the nicest folding knives that I own, they are definitely all but one in this case. So starting off here with a knife that was actually kind of hard to get out of there, so I just went ahead and pulled it out. This is CKF and Philippe Georget FIF 20. This next one here is the Max Ace Dragon, which is an absolutely wild, looks like a gas station knife for sure, but it's very premium. We have the Medford and Strider DLT Trading Exclusive 3/4 AR in S90V. What's this one here? Oh, this is the Liang Ma Model 18 in Mochatai. We have Damasteel, and it's also an integral. It's a really cool one. We have, I think this is kind of a random, or is this my Damasteel? Yeah, this is my, this is the Chavez knives, Redemption 229 kick stop with the, I think that's Timascus, or it's Mochatai, and it just looks funny. I can't remember. And then it has a Damasteel blade. This one also came from Crane's Cutlery. Next up, what do we have here? This is a Herman Sting in M398. This is my EDC Sting. This is my Herman Dragonfly, just my plain one, which I carry periodically, but I prefer to carry the Sting. This is a brown FSD, full size, small batch USA. This next one here is the Cortex XL, also from Brown Knives. We have a Strider SMF Performance Series, full titanium, and this one is in CPM 154. A rare Strider with no lock stick and a centered blade. Doesn't happen very often. We have the CKF Rodden Evo 3.0 with the shiny DLC. Really like that one. I believe this is the Varga. Yeah, this is the Varga VBR in Damasteel, and then we have a Mochatai clip there. Next up, we have the Hog House, the newest version of the Model T. Very cool. Really like this knife. Super duper smooth. We have the Hog House Veli, also incredibly nice. Moving on, we have the, I think this is the Spyderco Python in S90V. Really wish I could get rid of that lock stick. We have my custom Shamans, which you guys have seen like a bajillion times. These are Med & Boss Oil Slick Zirconium scales, and this one's in CTS XHP. Yes, this knife is insanely heavy. My most customized Shaman, I've talked about this many times. This was originally a River's Edge Cutlery exclusive. It's called, it's FDE, and it's a PVD coated FDE CTS 204P blade Shaman. The only factory flat dark earth coating that Spyderco has ever done, and or outside of the other stuff that they do for River's Edge Cutlery. And apparently they refuse to do this for anybody else because it's, I guess it's a pain or something like that. And we have Flytanium scales that were Cerakoted by River's Edge Cutlery, along with the backspacer and the pocket clip. That's a fun one. And then definitely the most expensive, like by a long shot, these are Med & Boss Zircotai scales combined with an S90V blade for this Shaman. And then one more. We have RGT Skinny titanium scales with 15V. We got the Triple B heat treat, which I've learned potentially outclasses Rex 121. So this might be my king cutter in my collection. Not really sure. Haven't tested it. Don't plan to. This is the Microtech Anax. This is the one that's made by Reich. So it's the Reich and Microtech collab. So I have that one. And I also have the one that's in all black, which I actually like a little bit more. I think that's super cool. On to some Microtech OTFs. We have the Dirac Delta in bronze. That one definitely sings. We have the Microtech, the new version of the Microtech Combat Troodon. That's the one that I EDC alongside the Scarab, the newest Scarab that I have. We have the Microtech Hera 2, which used to have a lot of bounce back. It still does. That's the first time it's done that in probably 100 deployments. Most of the time it doesn't, but just need to send it in and get it fixed. Microtech Glycon, one of my favorite Glycons. That's not quite as powerful as some of the other full-size Microtechs, but it's really cool. This is an previous gen Microtech Combat Troodon Signature Series with the Hellhound blade. And then I have the exact same thing with the Hellraiser, whatever you want to call that. It looks like it's broken, right? Pretty cool. We have probably the most prestigious Microtech OTF that I own, and that's the Scarab 2, not a Gen 3, but it's the Shadow edition of the Scarab. I don't like putting the Scarab in these cases because it picks up the foam and they get kind of embedded here. You can just blow it out with an air compressor and it's fine, but it's just annoying. We have the Machine-Wise Sonora right here. We have a very special Crane's Cutlery exclusive version of the original Riot Exo with Zircotai inlays. And this is a very low serial number 2 in 2022. Definitely a rare knife. I think they only made 10 of those. We have the CKF and Bob Terzuola Eagle Rock in S90V and zirconium. Wish that I had picked up a more prestigious version of that, but that's what we got there. We have the Rob Johnson's Cedar, which is an insanely underrated knife. Definitely recommend you guys pick that up. I have, by the way, another Rob Johnson's knife that's in my collection. I haven't reviewed it. In fact, there's a few knives that are going to go into my collection that I have not added yet because they haven't been reviewed. But this is the new Rob Johnson's Cypress, and that is also going to be added to my collection, but it's over here to the right, alongside a few others, right? That's probably the most important one that's not actually in the collection yet. This is a crazy one. This is an actual Chinese mid-tech. This is the Gen X Primark, which is ridiculously knife. It is ridiculously knife, but it's also ridiculously knife. I don't have another knife in my collection that's exactly like this. This feels very, very unique, and it's like above your ultra perfect, Chinese production knives. It's very, very cool. We have a Vero Synapse XL in all black and end cut carbon fiber with a zirconium pocket clip and backspacer. It's a fun one. I think this is the standard Synapse XL. Yeah. And then I had a buddy sell me the Timascus parts kit, so I added that on there. This one's also from Vero. Not necessarily incredibly expensive or rare. This one, however, is very rare. This is the Vero Isotope, one of the original 9 that was created with a Timascus inlay. Very cool. Wish they had done that on both sides, but that's okay. This is one of my favorite integrals. Moving on here, we have the Hawk and Serge Panchenko Rook with the toggle detent. Very fun, very clicky, very fidgety. We have my original, this is like an old USA-made Demco 8020 in full titanium. This is one of the first ones. You can see here it's got the domed hardware, and then it also has 20 CV scratched into the blade. This is the famous one where I chipped it. I chipped the blade on a beer bottle, and I reached out to John Demco, who laughed and offered to resharpen it for me. So that's a fun one. This is a full DLC version of the Herman Dragonfly. Very cool. It's kind of out of order with the other Hermans there. This is a Sharp by Design KNP or Knife Nuts Podcast Edition Mini Tempest with an M398 blade. Very cool. Glad that I got in on that one. This was a gift directly from Brian Nadeau, and it is a zero etch Damasteel version of the mini or micro Evo Typhoon. It's like mini or micro Typhoon or mini Typhoon. I can't remember exactly what he calls it. It's kind of confusing because he has custom models too, but it also has a Mokatai inlay there. Very cool. Very thankful for that one. This was the first Evo Typhoon that I pre-ordered. I think this was way back. I say way back. It was like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Evo Typhoon Harpoon in Damasteel and shred carbon fiber. Man, this was back when my channel was just getting going. That just brings back memories. We have a couple of Medfords here. This is my Medford Marauder, DLT Trading exclusive in S90V, the sort of river rock pattern or river whatever pattern, I can't remember. Also, a DLT Trading exclusive in S90V. This is the Medford DPT, full titanium. Two extremely rare Riot Jacks. I'll just get them both out. We have Riot Jack 1.5, one in Mokatai, one in Zircotai, both Crane's Cutlery exclusives. Not many were made. This is number 14 of 24 for the Mokatai version and number 2 of 24 for the Zircotai version. These are highly sought after pocket knives, and I will likely keep them forever. We have a couple of auto stitches here, not necessarily anything special. This is my Shadow version, which I love the most. And the reason I bought this is because I bought a regular black Microtech stitch, and it has this ugly billboarding all over it, which I hate, but I didn't want to get rid of the knife because I still think it's cool. So I just kept it. This was originally Scott's, and he sold it to me because after I touched it, it just immediately patinaed. And I said, I'm sorry, can I buy this from you? Like, it wasn't like a plan. I figured he'd be like, oh man, like it was so shiny, right? And I could polish it up, right? But he let me buy it from him. So this is a custom ProTech Rock Eye with the bronze scales. Very cool. So I think it looks pretty cool with the patina anyway. SOCOM Bravo, not necessarily anything special for this case. This is the black one in the Tanto. Then the first one that I picked up, just the standard with the clip point or drop point blade. We have a super duper rare and very expensive Oz Machine Company Roosevelt XL. We have I don't think this is all either. Like there's plenty of knives that could take, some of these knives places as soon as I reorganize. Les George VECP V3 in CTS XHP. That kind of rhymes and flows together. It's real nice. That one I EDC a lot. We have, this was a gift when I hit 100,000 subscribers between Scott and a bunch of other people actually helped buy this knife for me and then had this laser engraved from your 100,000 friends. Still very appreciative of this knife. This is the Spyderco. This is a Chris Reeve Umnumzon. This is my favorite Chris Reeve knife. Two recent acquisitions. We have the CKF Sakosha, ridiculously overpriced, but very cool with DLC and M390. And the one that I definitely would have bought had I known that it existed, but it came out after they dropped. This is the much, much more special version of the Sakosha with Zerkatai inlays and a DLC mirror polished M398 blade. Way, way cooler. This is one of my favorite acquisitions of 2024. Absolutely awesome knife. These rows start to get a little crazier. We have two Hawk deadlocks. This is a Model C in aluminum. And then we have the John Wick 4 edition of the Model C in titanium and DLC. I have the certificate for this one, but this one is actually serial number 4, which I talk about a lot. I think that's really cool. John Wick 4 and serial number 4. For that version. We have sort of a channel icon knife. This is the Dark Horse XM24, a very rare version of the XM24. I want to say like maybe 10 of these exactly exist. It's a Spanto in the stonewashed DLC, which is different from the standard DLC and the blackwash coating that Hinderer does. And then I've added the black hardware, the carbon fiber front scale, but it's also a stonewashed DLC titanium frame. And then it's got an authentic steel flame Crusader nut, which are very rare. And if you don't want to get super upset, do not look up on eBay what this teeny tiny little thing costs or what it's worth. That will irritate you. XM24 Knife Center exclusive Harpoon Spanto with a very rare XM24 titanium scale. Still to this day, Hinder, make more of these XM24 titanium scales. People want these. I waited for 8 years for an opportunity to buy one of these. So very happy I got to. We have a XM18 automatic. It's kind of an underrated Hinderer knife. I really like this, but it's a switchblade, a titanium automatic switchblade, XM18. We have a Monkey Edge Frag edition of the Hinderer XM18 3.5 inch in CPM 3V. I have removed the G10 frag scale and added a very rare Battle Black titanium scale to match everything. So it's not perfectly original, but I like it. We have my original, what I used to refer to as Excalibur, the knife that kind of started that idea. It was my perfect folding knife, was the XM18 3.5 inch DLT Trading exclusive non-flipper Fullard Spear. This is my favorite version of the XM18, given that it is tuned better for thumb studs, being a non-flipper. It's also easier to reverse flick thanks to the fuller, and because it's a non-flipper, you gain better access to the choil. I absolutely love this version of this knife, and I've added a tie scale to it, which is a common theme with Hinderer knives. I have kind of thinned my herd for Hinderer knives, and I'm not done buying them. I just own less than I used to. This is, I think, a Southern Edges exclusive non-flipper Eclipse. I think, I can't remember which exclusive. I also have a titanium scale for this guy. Moving into the Shirogorovs, we have the F3 with the Aqua Alatex, or the Emerald Alatex, I think is what they call it. What's this one here? This is the F3 with the, is it Technicarbo? Yeah, bronze Technicarbo. And then the M390 blade. This is a Shurgoroth Quantum, the Gen 1, so it's got the thicker blade. This is the F95 Zero, I think one of the newer versions of the F95. We have the F95 NL. I can't remember. The Shurgoroth stuff is so hard to remember. But this has the nice inlay there. It's got a little bit of a thinner blade. Honestly, a better knife, as a user. A rare special edition version of the F3 in Aqua Technicarbo and Vanax. I did not add this lanyard. It came with it, but, for the sake of keeping it all original, I just left it on there. That kind of just sits in the case. Also, a super rare Shurgoroth sold to me by Levon of the Knife Nuts podcast. We have the Tom Mayo and Shurgoroth Arctic Dr. Death with the silver twill and Damasteel. Extremely rare Shurgoroth. We have the Soft Overkill, the RJ Martin and Shurgoroth Soft Overkill with the black micarta. My most recent anniversary gift for my wife, this is the Shurgoroth F111, I believe. Nice big battle scar on that guy. And then a Chronometer 30 blade. Definitely a pocket sword. Moving into some of my more expensive Hermans. This is where the knives, actually, you can't even see that final row, can you? Let's move this down. They reveal the secret row, which I didn't know this entire time was not on camera. Sorry about that. This is a super, super rare and very expensive version of the Herman Slim in black Timascus. Actually, each side is a little bit different. Polished backspacer and pocket clip. We have a Baalbach Damast blade. Very, very cool. This is a beautiful and wonderful knife. Really weird one here. This is the Ishtar with a gold PVD and DLC Damasteel. We definitely do not see that very much. It's a crowd favorite. My very first custom ever is a Herman Dragonfly in plain Timascus all the way around. And then we have a Damacor blade with a Vanax core. We have a Mantis with, this is actually also black Timascus or Zerkatai, kind of magma, it's kind of dulled. And then we have a beautiful sequence of Baalbach Damast blade, probably the most beautiful between the two. We have a Skiff, I always mix these up. I think this is a Fugitive. You can tell me if I'm wrong. It's either the Fugitive or the Accomplice, but it's a Skiff. This is one of my most recommended, like, ultra small batch, ultra mega high-end mid-tech, semi-custom, whatever you want to call it, U.S. knife makers. If you're going to spend like $800, $900, $1,000 on an American pocket knife, like, it's probably Skiff. And then the Drifter. This is my nicest one, also in Damacor, and we have Zerkatai accents here. Much, much more expensive. This is going to have fingerprints all over it because I touched it here a lot recently for a video, so I'm sorry. It's actually, it doesn't really have any marks on it at all. It's just these fingerprints kind of like stay until you wipe them off, so you'll just have to excuse me. But the François Dutoit or Trois TF4 with the zero etch Damacor blade. This is the one with the RWL 34 core. Really amazing. One of the best value custom knife makers out of South Africa for the money, for sure. Very wild, very, very wild. This is the Lesbar Aviator Bifrost with far and away the most technical machining I have ever seen. I have yet to review this knife. I will review it for obvious reasons. This is a very complicated knife to tackle. We also have a mirror polished Damasteel blade that also has a mirror edge. This has spectacular action. This is an example of a truly perfect knife. This is a knife that has no flaws. Definitely one of the most expensive knives that I own, and that is the Black Star Stitch. Nowhere near the price that it should have been, but I just really wanted to own a Stitch. I love that sort of quad grind or quad bevel, whatever you want to call that, the grind in there. It's an M stitch, so it's a Marfione custom modeled after the Borka Blades stitch. And my 2 crown jewels of my folding knife collection. It's the gift that my wife gave me for our 5th anniversary, which is the Sharp by Design Arch Nemesis. This is and always will be my actual favorite pocket knife in my collection because of that. And then because of my buddy Kyle, I own, this is definitely the rarest knife that I own by a landslide. This is one of 4 in existence, never to be created again. Sharp by Design Arch Nemesis Zirconium textured contoured frame lock with zircotie inlays. Very wild, very rare, but also mainly because of the blade. This is a milled and polished blade, double hollow ground dagger. Brian Nadeau will not make these anymore exactly like this because it destroys bits. So this knife has 3 brothers, and they were supposed to be the only 3. And somebody down the road, I'm now the 3rd owner of this knife, somebody begged him to do a 4th one, and this was the final and the craziest of these special brothers of Sharp by Design Arch Nemesis. This is extremely valuable. It's worth a lot. I will probably never, ever sell it. So, and then I do actually have one more super custom that doesn't fit in this case. So I'll get that real quick. So this knife, I don't want to put it in the Overbuilt case. And honestly, I don't really want to I don't want to force it into this case, but you guys know that this is my fully handmade Dalibor Bergam. The knife is actually called the Unnamed. But this is a gigantic Overbuilt Daltanium integral. He makes all of these materials himself. He makes the Sanmai for the blade. He makes the Daltanium. He hand forges everything, hand crafts everything. This is, I've never seen so much work in a pocket knife. I mean, it is absolutely spectacular. But this knife just sort of stays in this case by itself. At some point, it would be nice to have a display for it. But for now, this is, that's just how I keep it. You know, it's not that it's more special than anything in the case behind it. I just don't want to jam it into the foam. But definitely a cool knife and definitely one of my crown jewels. All right, on to the fixed blades. I didn't show these last year, so if you've been curious about the fixed blades I own, here they are. The first one here is a recent acquisition. This is the Katsu FBX1 heavy duty chopper. I had to look over to my left on my iPad. Yeah, I have no real use for this, but wow. I did go out and do some chopping with it, and it's a huge chopper, right? So there you go. Next up, we have one of my favorite fixed blades. This is one of the knives that I keep in my truck. It doesn't really get any use. I just keep it there. But this is the ZT0006. Most of the wear on the knife comes from the sheath and just kind of rolling around in that side compartment in the door. But really like this knife mainly for how it looks. Next up here, just going to kind of lay these out and move the sheaths off to the side. The Becker BK, is it the BK2? Yeah, this is essentially brand new. I bought it with the intention of just like beating the crap out of it, but as is the case with a lot of my fixed blades, I just don't really do a lot. You know, fixed blades are not necessarily my favorite things in the world. There's a few that I like, but I just don't have a lot of use for them. I like them for the same reason that I like some of my folding knives, because they're blades, right? We have the Demco Free Reign, which was honestly planned to replace the ZT for my truck knife, and then I just didn't, and I ended up just kind of keeping it down here. This little guy, this is a Jacob Creates Chickadee, which is probably my favorite, still to this day, my favorite EDC fixed blade, just because of how small it is. Like that one, I guess I'll just lay that one right there. I think this is a Rat fixed blade. Yeah, this is the Rat 5, which has actually seen a little bit of use, and I think it's rusting a little bit, but this is one of the ones I keep in the garage. There's a few that I keep in the garage, including, is this a strong arm? Yeah, I think this is a Gerber strong arm. I could be wrong about that. This one got used here recently to help. There was something I was doing in the yard with the Christmas lights, and I needed a fixed blade, and I can't remember what the heck it was, but I've got that one there. This is a White River Ursus Cub in MagnaCut, and this came in the, I think it was a Going Gear EDC Club package, and I just absolutely loved the look and size of it. Again, not much use for it. I just think it's really, really cool. So I held on to that one. The fixed blade that I use the most by far is the Moracniv Robust. Now this looks like, sorry, I'm bumping the camera in there. This looks like rust, but it's actually from the last thing that I cut, I think. And in fact, no, it might actually be rust. I don't know. This is a knife that you throw around. This is a knife that you beat on, and that's what I do with this thing. This has been my go-to. In fact, it needs to be sharpened, but this has been my go-to pretty much everything outside fixed blade forever. I highly recommend these for about 15 to 20 bucks. They are truly incredible. This is an OKC Raider Bowie, I think. Yeah. So I use this to... I'm pretty sure I did some video with a stump, and I actually smashed the coating off of the end of it. This big, gigantic honking thing. I think this was a gift to the channel by a viewer. I haven't used it since, honestly. Next up here, we have a Cold Steel Outdoorsman Light, which actually looks pretty awesome. I know these are incredibly inexpensive, and that was the whole idea, was just to have a really cheap, inexpensive, cool-looking knife for camping or whatever, and I end up just always going back to the Moracniv, right? But it's a nice looking knife, and I think plenty durable, especially considering they're what, like 30 bucks or less? I can't remember. Nice high polished finish, nothing special. What are they? 4116. Yeah. So these knives are actually Begg Steelcraft series knives, and again intended to eventually go in my truck or my wife's vehicle, but it's the Filoso dagger. They're both $10.95. This one is pretty big, even being the smaller one. The other one is essentially a short sword, much larger and definitely capable, definitely designed for essentially one thing. I just really like symmetry. I really like how these look. That was the whole reason I decided to keep them when they were sent originally by Begg Knives for showcasing. And then I own one custom fixed blade, and it is way beyond anything that's on this table. This was custom made for me by Dion Nell. It is a Randall style dagger. It also has a completely custom leather sheath with a ray insert there. Very beautiful. A lot of people actually like the sheath more than they like the dagger. But the dagger itself is a Randall style dagger that's kind of like my idea of the quintessential, movie dagger. He did a polished micarta straight for the handle, very little swell. And then we have the polished guard and pommel. And then we have a polished, truly dagger ground sharp on both sides blade. He is part of the South African Knife Makers Guild. And this is a truly perfect piece. So even as someone who is not a fixed blade guy, this is something that I treasure because it's kind of like how I saw, if you were to ask me as a kid, what does a dagger look like? This is kind of my childhood, idea of like a fantasy dagger, or just like the most daggery dagger that was ever a dagger, and Dion absolutely nailed it. So that's a real special piece, and for obvious reasons that stays in its case. It looks like that I store it in the sheath. That was just in there for presentation. I actually do not store that fixed blade in the sheath. But those are all of the fixed blades that I own. Now on to swords. All right, so there's no real great place to do this in my house, so we're in the entryway. So I'm not a sword guy. I bought these because I think that they're cool. So I have some really cheap stuff and some goofy stuff, and I've also got some custom stuff, but I'm not really interested in using knife or swords as like practical. Like, I'm not really into the swords for the same reason I am knives. So I know there's going to be some sword experts out there that cringe at my collection, and that's perfectly fine. It's definitely more of just like a ooh sword kind of thing. So anyways, here we go. So these first two katanas here, I think these are sold on Amazon as like Miyazashi something. I paid 40 bucks for these thick tang, nothing cheapy katanas with the intention of making some funny, goofy videos in my backyard of like chopping random things in half. There's nothing special about these. I don't know why they're so expensive now, but yeah, I paid like $40 to $50 for each of them. This is the medium one. And then this one is the long one. They're fun. My kids always ask to hold them, and I always say no. This was also an Amazon purchase, marketed as a modern tactical Gladius. The company is APOC. It is a very simple object, and again, was meant as a destruction type of apparatus for my backyard, and honestly, I never used it, but it is cool. Next up, we have the Cold Steel medieval dagger short sword thing. I wasn't sure whether to put it in fixed blades or swords, but that's what it is. It's the Cold Steel one. I have used this to chop random things here and there. It's fine. It's durable. I haven't really used it for anything else. Next up, we have the Cold Steel hand and a half, I think, longsword. This is I guess it's the longest one that I own. There's actually still battle damage on this guy from when I chopped that old iPad in half. If you remember that that video, this was the sword that did that. That's the last time this was out. Again, it's a Cold Steel sword. I don't think anything super special. You can still buy these. It's pretty fun. That's all I have to say about that one. Next up, we have another long sword. I think this one is the Honshu hand and a half long sword. Another sword that I bought because I thought it looked cool. I don't really have anything else. I don't really trust this one. It kind of rattles a little bit, but it looks neat. You know what I recommend is buying the polypropylene version of it for your kids to play with because it's not sharp and it seems to be substantially more durable. And then I own two custom swords. These are both Sabersmith, made in the USA. This is a hand and a half. It's got kind of an awkwardly short blade, but this feels 1,000 times more durable. I don't know anything about swords. This is kind of a modern contemporary design. It's not historically accurate. In fact, I don't think any of these really are, but it's just cool. And I picked it up because I like the idea of somebody making stuff like this in the USA. Quite a bit more expensive. A sword master person would probably tell you that these were bad. I have no idea, and I also don't care. And then my last sword, and far and away my favorite. This is also what does it say right there? It's also a Sabersmith, but this is a bronze hand and a half standard length. So this is such a cool, like it's one of those swords where if you were to ask me, like, what does a sword look like as a kid, this would have been it. I just love the bronze with the green and gold leather stitching there. Really, really cool. Just fun. Honestly, I just swing this around in my basement sometimes, you know, just to do it, just to feel like a guy swinging a sword around. And honestly, it's pretty good therapy. I highly recommend it. Just make sure that there are no people or breakable objects around you. But definitely check out, if you like how this looks, definitely check out Sabersmith. I have been pretty pleased with this stuff. That's it for the swords. That is it. That is the end of my knife collection update video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This video took about 6 hours to record, edit, and upload. It's one of the more difficult videos to record, just moving everything around and getting things sorted, right, and getting it to flow correctly. So for those of you who made it all the way through and made it to the end of the video, thank you, sincerely. This is a lot. I really tried to make it fun to watch, and I know you guys are all curious about every last little piece of cutlery that I own. And essentially, I'd say about 99.999% of that stuff is in there. I didn't include any, you know, little tactical hatchets, or I have like a weird pair of Reich scissors, right? But these are all the actual blades that I own. So this has been a fantastic year. Thank you so much for being a part of my channel and allowing me to do what I do. We'll see you next year for another update, but expect about 800 uploads between this one and the next collection update video. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on the Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.